We got Ross Tucker in the queue, guys. Give me 1 sec to do a quick read, then we'll bring in Ross Tucker to talk a little football. Guys, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions, so whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long-shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is a one-day only event. It's happening on August 26th right here on the FanDuel app. Use promo code FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in the game. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Ross Tucker to the show. Ross, how you doing today, man?
I am doing fantastic. What's up, fellas? I recognize some of those faces.
What's up, big dog? What's up, man?
I'm ready. I was at joint practice, Browns Eagles yesterday, and I'll be calling the game on Saturday for the Eagles broadcast. So
nice.
I'm ready. I got to tell you guys, I thought the Browns were super impressive yesterday. I mean,
really?
I think you can make a very strong argument that they got the better of the Eagles in yesterday's practice. I saw where even the Eagles beat writers, several of them said they thought the Browns were the better team. You know, even some of the guys that said the Eagles, they said it was very, very close. So take that for what it's worth. You know, you never know what situations they're trying to put guys in or whatever. But it certainly was not, you know, like the Eagles' dominant TKO that I think most people would think it would be, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's start there. What do you make of this Browns season? Because I've said all offseason, I just said 15 minutes ago, this is a gap year. This is not a playoff team. Their quarterback is coming in next year's draft, and they're just biding time to get there. It's one day. Based off what you saw yesterday and based off what you know of this team going in, do you agree with that? Do you think this is a gap year for them, or how do you see the Browns season playing out this year?
By the way, I always wanted to do that. When do people get to do that? And how rich do you have to be to do one of those gap year things?
After high school, like, you take a year off and backpack across Europe,
or during college, or between college. Like your parents must be really rich if they just give you a year to go to Europe and do whatever you want to do. How is that even a thing? Like where I'm from, there are no gap years. Okay, like you're working or you're in college, maybe.
Ross, I spent my gap year cleaning carpets and working in a factory. I took a year off after high school. That was my gap year, cleaning carpets.
Nice. Well, so listen, let's be honest, right? I mean, what's the high end for the Browns? If every team has questions this time of year, right? If most of the Browns' questions get answered favorably, right, positively, or they win 7 games maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? So if you enter a year where 7 wins is your best case scenario, well, I think gap year is probably a good way to describe it. You know, they made a pretty loud statement when they traded down with the Jaguars, who moved up for Travis Hunter, right? I mean, that statement was, we are taking a longer view of this thing, and we're trying to get the guy that we need at the most important position. We know it's not Deshaun Watson. We know it's not Joe Flacco. I kind of like their approach, you know? I mean, I kind of like Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. To me, the more games those guys start this year, the better off the Browns are, right? Let's find out, do one of those 2 lottery tickets hit? Do one of those 2 guys have what it takes to be the long-term answer in Cleveland? Maybe it's Pickett, you know? Can Stefanski do a reverse Baker Mayfield? You know, we saw what happened with Baker or Sam Darnold when they went to other places. Can Stefanski take Kenny Pickett and turn him into an above-average starting quarterback? I tend to doubt that, but maybe. My point is this. Joe Flacco isn't the answer. I love Joe Flacco, right? Like, I love Joe Flacco. And maybe he gives him the best chance to win the first couple games, but I think it makes a ton of sense to play Gabriel and Shedeur as much as you can. Maybe you hit on one of them. Maybe you won the lottery, and one of those guys is a legitimate starting quarterback that you want to have be your guy going into 2026. That would be perfect. That'd be amazing. At a minimum, though, what are they? Are they number 2s? Are they number 3s? Are they inexpensive number 2s? the more snaps those guys get this year to define what they are, I think the better off the Browns are in 2026.
So you mentioned Kenny Pickett. You've seen Kenny Pickett. He was in Philadelphia. He was in Pittsburgh. Hasn't really done much in the league in terms of putting up big numbers. Hasn't played a ton either. So there is some, I guess, quote-unquote upside or some value there with him. You mentioned Baker. Maybe a change of scenery is really good for Kenny Pickett. I don't know. He's hurt right now. He's not playing, which stinks for him. But, the Browns like him. They like something about him. They traded a fifth-round pick for the guy, and they're trying to give him opportunities to become the starting quarterback. By all accounts, inside that building, everybody, it seems like they want him to be the starting quarterback. Sort of know that Flacco's 40 years old. He's not the future, that whole thing. What do you – I mean, you sort of said you doubt that you think Pickett can become a franchise quarterback. What you've seen from him in Philly and what you've seen now and in the past, what is the upside with him?
Yeah, well, let's start with this, right? I think he's a 500 quarterback in his career, and I think he started 20-some games maybe, right? Or he's at least 8-8, right? So,
right.
That's not bad. My personal sense on Pickett, right, is that he's probably a low-end starter, high-end backup. If he's your starting quarterback, you probably wish you had somebody better, and you probably don't have a great chance to actually do anything of significance. You love him as your backup, right? I think he's somewhere in that spot. Now, by all accounts, he's very smart. He does move well, right? So if you're pro Pickett and you're Stefanski or Andrew Berry or whatever, the thought would be maybe in our system, he can be like Kirk Cousins, right? Maybe in our system, he can do what Darnold did in Minnesota last year. Maybe he has that in his body to do it. I will just say, I watched him last year in the preseason, and I think the Eagles' backup quarterback right now, who you guys will see on Saturday, Tanner McKee, I think he's better than Kenny Pickett is. I mean, Tanner McKee is impressive. Every time he's gotten a chance to play, he's played very well. I think Pickett, I'm not ready to say a guy is what he is, but, I mean, it's going into year 4 now. He's been in a couple different places. I would think it's probably an uphill battle for him to be more than that. I'll also say this. Kudos to you guys, because I really thought it was impossible, okay, that you could have 3 quarterbacks get hurt in training camp when you're not even allowed to touch them. But somehow you guys pulled it off. I don't know how you did it, but, anything is possible. You guys are making miracles happen there with 3 quarterbacks getting hurt during training camp when you're not even allowed. They wear orange jerseys. You're not even allowed to touch them. Three muscle strains for what are quarterbacks doing that they're straining their hamstrings or their oblique? I mean, maybe I don't think the Browns are cursed. I said this on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. I said it this morning on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. I don't think the Browns are cursed, but I know some people that do, and this would not be favorable for my argument, right? Dude, Shedeur plays great, and then he's at a joint practice, and in warm-ups, he hurts his oblique. You really can't make some of this stuff up. Half the people in Cleveland don't even know what an oblique is. And now Shedeur can't play on Saturday because of a strained oblique. It's incredible.
Never underestimate the Browns' ability to Brown.
Well, Ross, I appreciate you admitting that the Browns traded for the wrong Eagles backup quarterback. It was funny to hear you say that. But let me ask you about Dillon Gabriel. You was at practice. You got to watch him. ESPN Cleveland does the quarterback tracker thing. They said he was 6 of 19 with 2 touchdowns. When you hear 6 of 19, a lot of people is like, that's terrible, but you see 2 touchdowns. You got to see him live. What do you think of him? And what do you think he needs to do in the preseason game Saturday to make people go, okay? Because right now, Shedeur got the whole fan base like, we don't need to see nobody else. Shedeur is the guy. What does Dillon Gabriel need to do in the game Saturday to be like, all right, it's a fair competition?
Well, let's hope he plays Saturday because he played a bunch in the joint practice yesterday, so you would think he'd be able to play on Saturday. I got a quick story for you guys, by the way, about Dillon Gabriel. 2018, for CBS Sports Network, I called UCF against East Carolina. Dillon Gabriel was the starting quarterback for UCF. His star wide receiver was Gabe Davis, okay?
Wow.
You said 2018, Ross?
2018.
Oh, my God.
Fast forward, it's 2025, okay?
Yeah.
Gabe Davis played his 4-year contract with the Bills, got a big contract with the Jags, played there last year, his 5th year in the NFL, and got hurt. Gabe Davis is going to be on his 3rd team and his 6th year whenever he signs with somebody in the next 2 weeks. And Dillon Gabriel is just now entering the NFL. Like, that's unbelievable. Man, he looks little out there. I mean, he looks super little. That's okay. You know, that's become more of a popular thing with guys like Bryce Young and to some extent Kyler Murray, Tua, Baker, whatever. You know, in fairness to him, you know, I would say half of those 19 passes were bootlegs where they got Gabriel on the move, so the hamstring must be okay, and nobody was really open. I mean, credit the Eagles. I told you they didn't look great, but they were certainly prepared for bootlegs because every time Gabriel booted out, he's just running, patting the ball, nobody was there, and he had to throw it away. It was not like he was missing throws or he was scattershot that I saw. It was mainly on these boots that nobody was open, and he kind of just had to dirt the ball or throw it away.
Does that make them too predictable with him? Because you can't just let him stand in the pocket. He does have to move. You do have to move the pocket with him. Does that almost play? I mean, you're right. There's a trend now of smaller type quarterbacks. So where's the line on this? How do you make this work between, okay, we can make angles, we can create lanes for him, and not being too predictable if everybody knows it's going to be a boot or a rollout because he can't just stand back there and pick guys apart?
It's a really good question. And here's how I would look at it. If he's under center, okay, I'm thinking boot or quick game. If he's under center, I'm thinking boot or quick game, maybe play action, but I don't think it's straight drop back. Now, the way they can help him is put him in the gun, which is kind of the offense they tried to run last year, actually, and have him get the ball out quick, which is what he did in college, what he did at Oregon last year. You know, he's very smart. He's super accurate. He's like a poor man's Tua, right? Like, that's how I would describe him, as a poor man's Tua. Not quite as strong of an arm, not quite as accurate, not quite the level of anticipation, but he's good. I mean, they like him, and they want to see what he can do at the NFL level. Obviously, they liked him more than they liked Shedeur. Shedeur did some really positive things. I thought it was interesting. You know, watching the TV copy, I thought Shedeur was fantastic. And then I had Greg Cosell from NFL Films on my Ross Tucker podcast this morning, and he mentioned multiple plays where there was a guy open that Shedeur was supposed to deliver the ball to, and he didn't. For whatever reason, he either didn't see him or didn't like it, but that was the read, and Shedeur didn't go there. So people don't see that, right? They just see the end result of the play, which is ultimately all that matters. But that is something just to note, and for you guys to file away, was that, you know, even if the passes he threw were for the most part accurate, he did miss some throws, meaning miss some throws that should have been made, or reads that were the correct reads on certain plays.
You know, it's really interesting that you say that because I watched the TV copy and saw a lot of the throws that he made, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy actually looks like an NFL quarterback. Like, he looks the part. He threw some passes. The way he pats the ball, I mean, it's pretty how he plays the position. But then you bring in Greg, who's the best, obviously, and breaks down the tape and knows, you know, where the ball's got to go. And I never played quarterback. You know, I was a DB. So you watch some of that stuff and you think to yourself, well, like, can Shedeur Sanders be a good NFL quarterback if he's limited with his knowledge of playing the position and knowing how to play the position? Like, is there a way that they can sort of, like, not baby him along, but bring him along? Because the knock on him was, you know, the guy didn't have a lot of good whiteboard sessions. Like, he just wasn't really prepared for the NFL and being a pro, because things just kind of came easy to him, I guess, in high school and college and what have you. So now here you got a guy who looks like he can be a player. He's got the ability, but maybe it's going to take him a little bit longer to get it upstairs to start to click.
Well, by the way, first of all, Dustin, if you like white DBs, you'll love the Eagles, bro.
I love you guys, man. Yeah, Cooper DeJean, baby,
is
my guy.
everything you were supposed to be, Dustin. Cooper DeJean is living your dream right now. That's what you were.
He is who I was supposed to be. Man, but anyway, I'm glad we're doing it. We're back. We're back.
The guy is good at everything. The guy won Devontae Smith's. He was the MVP at Devontae Smith's celebrity softball game. When I went to Kelsey's event, I got Cooper as my beer pong partner. We went 11-0.
Huh.
It's legendary. We still talk about it to this day. 11-0 beer pong. So watch Cooper. He won't play on Saturday, but Cooper
He's probably like a 2 handicap too in golf. He's probably like a 2 handicap, isn't he? Guaranteed.
Oh, dude, have you ever seen his basketball highlights?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well,
he's like levitating. So as far as Shedeur goes, I think the answer is no. I don't think he can be a good quarterback without really having a great feel for the offense and reading defenses because he doesn't have overwhelming physical traits. What I would tell you is, number one, he looked faster on those runs against Carolina than I ever thought he did at Colorado. I thought he looked fast. Number two, what he has is a outstanding feel for the game, right? A couple of those touch throws he made, the one touchdown, the one where he rolled out right, just beautiful, right? Like his spatial awareness, his feel for the game is elite. If he does get to the point where he really becomes a student of the game and his whiteboard sessions are better and he understands defenses more, I don't think there's any question he can be an above-average starting quarterback because I do think he has enough in the other categories. But I talked to multiple people from multiple teams that was a huge concern when they were asking him questions during the pre-draft process. There was a sense that he really did not have a great feel for defenses or the progressions or any of those things, and he's more just kind of playing football. So you can look at it as a negative, as like, dude, you can't just do that. Or you can look at it as a positive and say, man, he's pretty good if that's what he's doing. What if he actually, put the time in and was able to really learn this stuff? How good can he be? You can look at that as an upside thing.
Ross, you say that. My question is, okay, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say that the Browns go into this season, Joe Flacco's the starter, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur is the 2 backups. Let's say they get to week 5 and Joe Flacco goes down with a thumb injury, something like that. Who would you put in the game? Who would you roll with for that? Let's say Joe is out for the season. Who would you roll with for the rest of that season? Like, who would be first in your eyes?
Yeah, so I think unless the guy that goes in first plays really well, I think I'd give them both a bunch of time. That's why I think these preseason games are so big. To me, they are jockeying right now to see who that next guy is. And I would say right now, this is tennis, which is like an awesome hat that Dustin's wearing, okay?
Thank you.
Tennis, right? It would be advantage Shedeur right now. It's advantage Shedeur. Now, Dillon Gabriel on Saturday, he has a chance to send that thing back, right? And to get it back to Deuce or to maybe make it his advantage. But if he performs poorly, if Gabriel performs poorly on Saturday, how could you put him in ahead of Shedeur? I mean, how could you do that, right? So I think that's, to me, what these next 2 preseason games are about. We'll see if Pickett can get healthy and get out there. But to me, it's about Shedeur versus Gabriel battling to be the first guy in after they pull Flacco, whenever we assume that is, week 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And here's the thing about that. You really want to be that next guy. Because if you're the next guy and you play well or things are going well, then the third guy never gets a chance. You have a chance to just stay in there. Yeah. So I think right now that guy would be Shedeur, but I don't know if I'm coming on next week or the week after. Ask me then. It could change.
Yeah. Ross, when you're talking about all the traits that Shedeur has now, and if he picks up the whiteboard stuff on top of it, then you've got something there. How long till they know that? How long does a team give a guy to figure out? Because I'm under the impression they traded down, they're getting their quarterback next year, and it's on Dillon or Shedeur to change their mind. They have this year to change their mind that we don't need to go get a quarterback. We have one of these guys right here. So how long does Shedeur have to change their mind? I know you could say all the way up until the draft next year, but realistically speaking, is it really that long, or how long will they give him or Dillon to grasp, okay, he's picking this up, he's doing what we want, he's going to get there, we don't need to take a quarterback?
Yeah, I think it depends on how well he plays when he starts regular season games. I fully expect both those guys to start regular season games. And I think, he doesn't have to get all the way there, right? It's if he's progressing and he's going in that direction, then that might be enough for them. He's not going to have it all figured out by the end of this year, but if they're seeing enough growth that leads them to believe with a full offseason as the guy that he would be there, well, then that's very possible. I don't think it's as important as the on-the-field stuff, but when a guy gets pulled over for speeding, okay, and then whatever it was a week later gets pulled over for going 100 in a 60, that's really concerning to me, especially at that position, because you really at that position need to learn from your mistakes and grow. And I don't really care that much about the speeding part of it, but it's like these are lessons that, especially at that spot, that you wonder if he is going to learn it. You wonder if he is going to learn it. He just played 4 years of college football, and I think started every game. So it's concerning to me that he doesn't know, I guess, what he doesn't know in terms of, offense and defense and football based on all these reports.
Good stuff. Ross, thank you. You're the best, dude.
When's your first game for CBS, Ross? What do you got?
Week 1, I'll be in the booth. I'm on the 6th crew for CBS. So week 1, I've got the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. Week 2, I have the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens.
All right.
Last year, I was the good luck charm for you guys, I guess, because last year was I did that Browns-Ravens game where Jameis and the Browns beat them. So we'll see what happens. But I will have the Brownies on CBS, so it's a good thing for all the ladies there in Cleveland. You'll really be looking forward to September 14th when I'm on your TV.
Ross, have a great season, buddy. We're looking forward to it. Later, dudes!